Sweet Six Music.
The Desert Island Disco.
Got a very special castaway this week, friend of Six Music and design hero Wayne Hemingway is on the line. Hi Wayne, how are you?
Morning, good, all good, yeah.
Very nice to speak to you today. It must be a really busy time. You've got the next Hemingway Design Vintage event coming up this weekend. I mentioned it earlier, the classic car boot sale, right?
Yeah, it's taking place in Granary Square in King's Cross, and it's just such a great event. You know, there's lots of it free, and then you can pay a fiver for one bit of it. But it's like a 2-day festival, but it's right in the centre of London, and it's, you know, anybody can afford it, and it's just great getting all these classic cars together, young designers and people selling vintage and designer makers and people on classic bikes, and it's just really, really buzzy, and it's grown into something absolutely massive. There'll be about 20,000 people there.
Amazing.
And it's just so much fun. Our whole team, like we're a design team, but we all turn into an events team for this weekend, and we have such a blast. You know, some of us DJ, and this time we're sharing the decks with Trojan Records. It's their 50th anniversary, and we've got this 50-year-old London bus with the DJ decks on top.
Oh, brilliant!
And we're going to focus for the first time really heavily on Trojan ska, reggae and dub, and it's been such an important part of my, you know, musical journey as Trojan that and it's, you know, you kind of forget about it. My first experience, people think of Trojan as, you know, being about ska and going back to the 60s, but its influence was just massive all the way through to punk as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's such a kind of such a crossover between, an overlap between punk and reggae at the time in the 70s. I mean, would that have been your introduction to it? When did it come into the mix for you?
My introduction was probably, so I was born in 61, and my introduction will have been maybe about 10 years old. My generation, you know, when we went to the youth club, it was about dancing. It wasn't really table tennis, and I think sometimes we treat kids a bit too, you know, a bit too babyish nowadays. But it was all about the music, and I remember going there, and we would at that time, you know, my generation were dressing like slaves, so, you know, the braces and the check shirts and the big wide trousers. And I suppose it was called a boot boy fashion, but you can hardly be a boot boy at 10 years old, you know. But I remember listening to this big booming music, and all I know is that for the first time I wanted to move my feet and not kick a football, but actually start to dance. And it had a profound impact on the rest of my life. But I didn't, you know, I had no idea as a 10-year-old where this music was coming from a relatively small island, you know, Jamaica and the likes. And I had no idea it was black music. And it was so weird to think that you know, that black culture, that Jamaican culture, had such a big impact on me and all my mates in a small town, Blackburn, in Lancashire. And that reach of music was phenomenal. And that certainly led me then 3 years later, to go to Wigan Casino and experience another form of black music. And then the next stage in my life was 76, so I'd have been 15 going on 16, and punk came along. And it was massive all around me. Well, massive, not on the scale of Adele being massive nowadays, but it was, you know, for cool young people, was pretty big. And it got me, thinking about this, it got me thinking again, what a strange thing happened. Because there'd be all these punk bands, whether it was Susie, whether it would be the Damned, whether it would be the Clash, and all the smaller bands in Manchester.
The Slits as well, I mean, like, massively influenced, yeah.
Yeah, and yet, in between the punk bands playing, all you would hear was dub, and most of it Trojan dub, like Johnny Clark, Blood Dunzer, and Augustus Pablo, and all of that, and all the King Rocker stuff. And it was, in a way, when you think about it now, there was punk which was shouty and loud and often not that melodic, and then there's this laid back, very melodic dub music in between, and yet people just changed their style of dancing. Again, a predominantly white audience, suddenly switching from punk to dub reggae, absolutely loving it. And then another punk band had come on and everybody would start pogoing again. But what it gave us, I think, was this really broad church of taste. And still to this day, you know, when I look at my record collection out there, I might see at the front of one section, it'll have New Rose by the Damned, and I'll fancy putting that on. And then it'll have, you know, an Augustus Pablo Trojan record, and I'll stick that on, and I love that contradiction, but it's not really a contradiction.
No.
Both of them underground cultures, and I think that's maybe, there was all that, the clash of cultures that Don Letts always speaks about, and maybe it was because, very left field punk and very left field dub, and the two just kind of loved being together. And obviously Bob Marley, which a lot of Bob Marley stuff came out in the UK on the Trojan imprint Upsetter label. He was into punk as well.
Yeah. I know. I mean, it's absolutely, as you say, so interesting, so hugely influential, and still just sounds great. I think there's just something about that production style. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I recently bought a 1970 sound system, and pretty expensive, but it's been a fantastic investment. And putting on a 1975 Trojan dub record on that system and just blasting it in your house, Geraldine going absolutely crazy at it, and the dog running into the garden. It's just a fantastic experience. But we can do it from the top of a bus this weekend, and that'll be all right.
How fabulous. Wish you the very best of luck with the Classic Car Boot Sale, Granary Square, King's Cross this weekend, celebrating 50 years of Trojan. Wayne Hemingway, you're off to the Desert Island Disco. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
6. Desert Island Disco.
Music.
Desert Island Disco. Desert Island Disco. The Zodiacs and Renegades at the Desert Island Disco, celebrating Trojan Records' 50th birthday with a long-time Trojan reggae fan, Wayne Hemingway. As he said, his interest in the label extending well beyond its early years. Three great tracks there, Phyllis Dillon and Hopeton Lewis, Boys and Girls Reggae, aka Doing the Reggae. Children release from '69, that was the B-side to Love Is All I Have. Lee Scratch Perry and Jungle Lion from '73, sampling Al Green's Love and Happiness apparently in Zodiac with Renegade from 1968. So Wayne was talking about his celebration of Trojan Reggae, which is happening with Hemingway Design, the Vintage Festival this weekend at Granary Square, King's Cross. There's going to be some great DJs, apparently in this 50-year-old open-top bus, DJ Far Stepper and Mr. Brown there, Saturday and Sunday, celebrating 50 years of Trojan. But there's lots of other stuff going on, above and beyond that, not linked to Wayne and Hemingway Design. Trojan have got this film coming out that we're really excited about, Rude Boy, the story of Trojan. And the 8th September, Toots Fest is happening at Alexandra Palace in London. On the 14th of September, there's a big event at the Globe in Cardiff. And on BBC Six Music on Monday, the 27th of August. If you're a regular listener to this show on bank holidays, you'll know that I always, and have been for years, doing this kind of Skank Holiday Monday thing for fun. Well, it's extending to the whole day. So there's going to be a whole Skank Holiday Monday all over Six Music on Monday, the 27th of August. So that should be really fun. We're back at the Desert Island Disco with Wayne Hemingway and more of his selections after the trail. Six Music.
In the foothills of Wales's Black Mountains, near a small town in the Brecon Beacons. This Sunday afternoon from 4, I am live from the Green Man Festival.
It's amazing to see all of you. Hello!
Tom Ravenscroft.
What started as a tiny event for 300 folk fans has grown into one of the most exciting and eclectic festivals in the country.
Live at Green Man Festival.
With live music from Kelly Lee Owens, Kevin Morby in conversation and in session, and a DJ mix from High Contrast.
Six Music.
We'll also take in the other side of the festival, from comedy and theatre to art and science.
Six Music, live at Green Man Festival.
This Sunday afternoon from 4.
Six.
Desert Island Disco. Desert Island Disco.
Lloyd Robinson and Cos. It's a Desert Island Disco favourite of ours, and Skank Holiday Monday classic that we've played on the show before in that spot. Like I mentioned earlier, Six Music going to be celebrating 50 years of Trojan, unbelievable, on Skank Holiday Monday in its entirety, Monday the 27th of August. Pat myself on the back, all my features blading out across the day. Johnny Clark before that with Blood Dunza. Can't see an official release date for that, but there was a release in Jamaica in 1977. Wayne Hemingway, Desert Island Disco Castaway, demanded that we play this. That was the absolute stipulation. You can check out his long list on our blog if you want, bbc.co.uk/6music, but there were certain ones that had to go in, and that was one of. Thank you very much to Wayne for choosing his Desert Island Disco track for us tomorrow. He will be there tomorrow at Vintage Festival, Classic Car Boot Sale, Granary Square in London's King's Cross. As he said, loads of free stuff going on, lots of great young designers and vintage sellers going to be there taking part, and obviously lots of classic cars for presumably small children to to be distracted by as well. I think that's what Granary Square gets a lot of action from Six Music listeners' parents. It's like a really, really good place to go if you're in that part of the world and you want to let your toddler somewhere. But we do have, as I say, 27th of August inked in the diary here at BBC Six Music to celebrate 50 years of Trojan. So if you're a fan of the label and of the genres that keys into, then make sure you got your radio switched on that day. Just gone 11 o'clock on BBC Six Music. That's this week's Desert Island Disco done and dusted. Of course, you are so welcome to be our castaway next